My name is Enrique Betancourt.
My name is Lissy Amelia.
I'm Jonathan McHugh, just Lane Eagle.
His wife.
I am from Mexico and I've been living in AU Park for 3 years now.
I've been here for 7 years in American University Park.
This is their 20th year.
Wow. So why did you move here?
So we came to the US 6 years ago. First we lived in Georgetown for a while and eventually we came here. We love it. We have a great community here in AU Park.
Well, we had our first daughter and we're pregnant with our second child and we needed more space. We had a hard time in our co-op in Adams Morgan getting rid of the mice, working together with the other 50 units. So we wanted to have a single home and didn't really know this neighborhood. We checked it out and drove around on the weekends and really liked the feel of it. The main draw was that the public school, the elementary school and the system for junior high and high school would be an option for our kids. We loved the Turtle Park, so we knew we wanted to live within a few blocks of Turtle Park, which we utilize on the regular now that it's back open with the pandemic.
But we used to live in DuPont.
DuPont, yeah, and we wanted to live in the city still, and have the convenience of being near the metro, being things in walking distance.
Yeah, city living.
But we wanted to raise a family, and we just felt that the schools here were better, and it was more of a suburban lifestyle, but in the city still.
Would you change anything about the neighborhood?
I think I think it's a great neighborhood. I really love it. Sometimes I wonder about diversity. I think it's not diverse enough.
What do you mean by that?
I think the demographics is very homogeneous, and something we really liked from other parts of the city is the diversity. So that's something, and maybe also I would say maybe the food scene is not very it's not a great place for food, I would say.
It's hard to come from Adams Morgan and U Street and Shaw and now all these other parts of town where these great restaurants, and I get it because there are a lot of kids coming out of middle school and high school who want Chick-fil-A and hey babe. But we just had such fun restaurants down on 14th Street and in Columbia Heights before we left that it's in Adams Morgan that's a little tough to come here and you're like, blah.
I don't know, what would you change?
Increase the diversity a little bit?
I would say increase the diversity. We were a little surprised when we got here how it was as diverse as the places elsewhere we lived.
I mean, the schools are, but just not this particular neighborhood.
Yeah. We're really open-minded about development because we feel like development will increase diversity, and if you get people with a diversity of housing options, then you'll see more diversity coming to your neighborhood.
Do you have a favorite memory from this neighborhood?
Definitely. My daughter, she just graduated from Janney, 5th grader. Obviously, she missed a typical graduation, but we have a very unique, I would say, very an incredible experience with a parade in the neighborhood. Just driving around with all her friends, and that's I think a great memory about it.
Yeah. So when the Nats were in the World Series, I can't remember what game it was. It's like 3 or something. Anyway, 3 or 4, whichever one was here, and of course we couldn't get tickets, and we had 4 kids. There's no way we could afford that. A lot of the neighborhood got really into the series, and our old neighbor rented an inflatable movie screen, and they put it over in the orchard right by the community gardens that we have, and invited just whoever wanted to come from the neighborhood. And they had these loudspeakers, so we felt like we were all watching the game together on this hillside in the neighborhood about a block away.
There's usually Mayfair here, not this year, for Turtle Park.
What is Mayfair?
We shut the street down and then bring in like all these kids attractions like moon bounce and horses and just all these things, and it's just a great community event.
Do you know the history of this neighborhood?
Not very much.
The neighborhood was originally a whites-only neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I read about it, it's like, it's DC, but
yeah, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, I know. I read it and it's gross.
I know in the 1910 through the 20s, American University had their chemical weapons program because we have gotten information from the Army Corps of Engineers that our home is one of the homes within the site, and it goes over into Spring Valley. So I know a little bit of that history, that it used to be a chemical weapons testing site 100 years ago, and then I also know that what's now like 10 houses on a block used to be 1 and a little bit more pastoral, but I'm talking like the 30s and 40s, and then I think as the church sold it, is my understanding, that they started to develop it more.
Most houses that were built around this time were white only, and you had to promise not to rent, sell, deed to, blah, blah. So that's just like It really is really interesting because I like to research neighborhoods before I come here, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if people know more about these neighborhoods than I do.
I knew across the country in terms of segregation and housing disparities. So I didn't assume that DC was not having that. I kind of assumed every neighborhood had some sort of effect of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the racial covenants, some were here, like we found them like sometimes they're like buried somewhere up at, farther up in Friendship Heights. Spring Valley had them. And it's interesting to see, like, well, they're not here now. It's like, yeah, but the result of that is generational. And it's kind of, it takes a long time to get away from that.
How would you describe this neighborhood for people who have never been here?
I describe it as a very cohesive community, a very supportive community. When we came to DC, we understood very quickly that the majority of people in DC were transient. This is not the case here. This is a neighborhood of people who, many of them were born and they grew up in DC. So it's a very, very well-rooted community. It's been a great place to be. Very receptive. 2 years ago, there was a big earthquake in Mexico. Everybody was incredibly supportive, and they were all asking about our family. So I really love, my daughter growing up here and us, having the interactions we have.
It feels like the burbs, but you're in the city. I'm 3 blocks from Metro. I can walk to the library and the school and to church and to get coffee. But you look around and it's children everywhere, as you can see.
Suburbia, because it's like suburban, but if you literally, you go literally up there to Wisconsin, it turns into the city again. So it's like having the best of all worlds.
We're close to everything. You can walk. We can walk to the Metro. It's about a mile walk, so you can get anywhere. Or you can Uber. You can. Well, it's great. So it's conveniently located, but it's
for families. If you're raising a family, it's a really great place.
Really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Thank you so much. We'll do like a socially distant fist bump. Thank you so much, man.
Take care.
And that's my takeaway of American University Park is that it's nice. It's surprisingly open, which is interesting because this part of the city hasn't always been accessible to everyone. And it seems like that there are active measures in place to try and make that happen. So thank you, American University Park, for telling me about your neighborhood. Neighborhood 2 of 131 neighborhoods in Washington, D.C. Man, this is all slimy. Oh! Appreciate that a little more. I don't often get that in my
And oh dear, its wings breaking.
Wander around, you just all of a sudden you meet someone like you, just doing things.